19 writing task is to write a letter on behalf of Mr. Joe Black, a university student who met with a motorbike accident on the way back home from the university. He underwent multiple surgeries due to multiple fractures to stabilize his injuries and was inserted with suprapubic catheter as he lost bladder control. Initially, he was admitted to the Gold Coast University Hospital, but later, after the surgical intervention and stabilizing his injuries, he is moved to Pindara Private Hospital for the rehabilitation purpose. After the rehabilitation and physiotherapy, this patient is right now moving to home. So you are writing a letter to an occupational therapist to assess his disability level and to provide support to regain his independence in his life after his discharge, because this patient is too much worried about his life after discharge since his house is situated in a fairly steep hill and has steps at the entrance, and as of now he is not able to walk. He has to use wheelchair for his mobility, and a lot of modifications have to be carried out at his home that would suit his new lifestyle. Here, you are a charge nurse at Pindara Private Hospital, where Mr. Joe Black has been transferred to your ward from Gold Coast University Hospital after multiple surgeries. Let us look into the case note first. Looking into the details of the case note, today's date is specifically given in the case note, so the date of the letter will be the date given in the case note. Then name of the patient and the date of birth are given, which is important and should be mentioned in the reference. The medical history given here in the case note is quite irrelevant, so you can omit those information while writing the letter. A few points mentioned in the social history can be omitted too, like hobbies are riding horse, surfing weekly, and occasional dirt bike ride. Other information in the social history, for example, his house is situated on a fairly steep hill and have 5 steps at front entrance, has to be mentioned but not word by word as given in the case note. Also, while framing the letter, you can concise a lot of things together in one single sentence. You can concise the admission procedures and the surgical intervention he underwent during his hospital stay at Gold Coast University Hospital. You must pick out all the relevant information regarding his condition given in the current admission section and discharge plan, and has to be mentioned in the letter because that is where the occupational therapist has to focus on. This is a straightaway question and you can pick the relevant one and omit others easily. Taking all these points, we have to prepare a letter in an organized manner. Now let us see how we can write a letter with the help of a sample letter written by a candidate from India. The address written is correct, but the writer has not used any salutation in front of the name of the occupational therapist, Miss Annie Mary Johnson, which is not appreciated. The date written is perfect. In the salutation, the writer has used title in front of the name, which is perfect, and the reference is also written perfectly. Moving to the introduction paragraph, I am writing to refer Mr. Joe Black, who has been diagnosed with permanent paraplegia and requires your support to adapt and regain his normal life. This introduction is somewhat impressive but still misses a very important element, that is the purpose of the letter. Here, we are writing this letter to an occupational therapist to assess the disability level of Mr. Joe Black, and this assessment of disability level is missing from the introduction. If it had included in this paragraph, it would have been a better one, and the introduction paragraph would read, I am writing to refer Mr. Joe Black, who is diagnosed with permanent paraplegia following a motorbike accident, and he requires disability assessment and support to regain his normal lifestyle after discharge. Moving to the second paragraph, Mr. Black was admitted with multiple fracture following motorbike accident and had a severe spinal nerve damage which impaired movements and bladder control. He was inserted with permanent suprapubic catheter. He underwent emergency total hip replacement surgery to stabilize further injury, which is somewhat alright but could have been framed in a more organized manner because you are writing this letter from Pindara Private Hospital, but Mr. Joe Black was admitted to Gold Coast University Hospital following his motorbike accident. So if you write it in such a way, a bit of ambiguity comes up. So you must clarify it by saying, Mr. Black had admitted to Gold Coast University Hospital with multiple fracture following motorbike accident and severe spinal nerve damage which impaired movements and bladder control. He underwent emergency total hip replacement surgery to stabilize further injury and was inserted with suprapubic catheter as he lost bladder control. Here we can see that the second and last sentence are swapped and now it seems more organized. Next sentence says, later he was transferred to orthopedic and then to Pindara Hospital for further investigation and rehabilitation therapy, which is okay. The second last sentence reads, physiotherapy was given to cope with the mobility that strengthened the muscle using wheelchair and avoid dystrophy. This sentence has too many mistakes and is improperly constructed. Actually, Mr. Joe Black underwent physiotherapy to strengthen the muscle, and as a result, he has now mobility and he has regained muscle strength. And now he can use wheelchair. This information could have been organized in much better way. Coming to the last sentence, he is worried about his health after discharge, where the reason for his worry is not mentioned and straight give out the information that he is worried. It would have been much better if you could have merged it with other sentence or mentioned the reason why he is worried. Moving to the last paragraph, Mr. Black is to be taught and provide with necessary aids and house modifications such as wheelchair, ramp over stairs, double door, rails and commode showering chair in bathroom and toilets to support with mobility, safety and regain his independence with ADLs, where the writer fails to impress the reader because the writer has connected a lot of information in one single sentence, which is too much and just packed up with and doesn't give any clarity. Here you can mention about the way he lives before mentioning about wheelchair, ramp over stairs, etc. Our motive behind this letter is to give support to regain his normal lifestyle and acquire independency in his daily living activity. Also, Mr. Joe Black was a very smart and outgoing person and suddenly turned into a disabled person. So the mental shock he has is not mentioned in this letter, and it would have been better if the letter had this point as well. Also, the letter fails to mention the reason behind the usage of ramp, which is his house is situated in a fairly steep hill and has steps at the entrance. Coming to the last sentence, please make sure your home visit and make him attend physiotherapy session regularly as well as GP's appointment to check catheter, which also fails to deliver what is supposed to. Actually, it says the patient requires home visit for the 2 weeks to teach and support him to adapt to the new modification made, and the GP's appointment is also not mentioned in a proper manner. The wind-up sentence, please contact me if you have any queries. Here you may please mention the name of the patient, which means please contact me if you have any queries regarding Mr. Joe Black, which would be much better. The sign of yours sincerely is not properly written. Instead, the candidate has written yours sincerely, which is wrong. Also, it should be charged nurse instead of charged nurse. So that's all about the letter. Thank you.
New method for OET learning. How are you preparing? Online or offline? For speaking and writing, you can get tutor reviews. How will you be able to manage your reading and listening? How can you manage your self-practice easier than ever before? Learn OET in Merlin's way. Most successful OET learning method from world's best online trainer. Chat now, mentormerlinexam.com.